And speaking of the Detroit Lions winning this division, there was a point, Luke G, when you guys weren't even competing for a division. Aaron Rodgers was running you boys through the mud, and you guys just had to settle with making it to the wild card round. And before Dan Campbell arrived in Detroit, there were so many coaches like Jim Schwartz and Jim Caldwell who had a little bit of success, but they were never able to sustain it. And then you have fatty Matt Patricia, who tries to implement the Patriots way in Detroit, and he fails miserably at it. And you just have such a run of failed coaches. Then all of a sudden, you get Dan Campbell, which wasn't really the original guy the Detroit Lions had listed as their number one. Originally, it was reported that they wanted to interview Matt Campbell, the dude at Iowa State, who was their head coach. But then Dan Campbell all of a sudden gets this head coaching job, and then with a span of a couple of years, he transforms the Detroit Lions from the biggest laughingstock in the NFL to a legit Super Bowl contender. Luke G, how has Dan Campbell pulled off this miracle work? How has he been able to do what previous Detroit Lions head coaches have been unable to do, and that's turn Detroit into a legitimate winner and legitimate contender, and somebody that when you see the Detroit Lions on your schedule, they're not an easy win anymore. They're going to be a tough out. No matter win or loss, you ain't walking out of Detroit with the easy game.
I think what you're saying is an old adage that says, in order for you to know who you are and where you're going, you got to know where you come from. And as a guy who was on the 0-16 team, he understood where he came from. He understood and saw firsthand what should not happen as a coach. But there's a bigger picture that happens here, because when William Clay Ford passed away, was the Lions owner, he passed the team on to his wife. And his wife loves football. She loves, the team and the company. But at the end of the day, this ain't nothing she wanted to run. So she can care less about most of that stuff. But when she passed it on to her daughter, a woman who knew how to text, she knew how to send emails, she knew how to swipe the card, she was doing Apple Pay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was huge. And what she did was she realized that, okay, I don't know everything, but I want to learn everything. And so I'm going to get people who do know things. So she goes out, she get Chris Spielman. And Chris Spielman creates a board with Barry Sanders and a bunch of other NFL legends. She gets Rod Woods just hanging there with the money part of it. And he succeeds in his role. And then they go out and they hire Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell comes in. He remembers his time here in Detroit. He remembers his attitude about Detroit. He remembers the city's attitude, and he embraced it. He damn near bodied it. If you had to look at resurrecting the attitude of Detroit, he did just that, because he came in with a mentality that was going to be known to the players, and that everybody had to get on board or get out the way. And then they go out and get Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes did it. And so they quickly realized that I need everybody to do their damn job. And Dan Campbell made it clear. You don't do your job, I move on from you. This is the reason why R.B. Pleasant was moved on from. It's a reason why Anthony Lynn was moved on from. He like, hey, I'm not mad at what you did. I'm not blaming you, but I can get better production. I need more. And it's one of my favorite commercials with Kobe Bryant and Kanye West is when he was like, I sold 1 million records. He like, I want more records. He was like, but I'm the highest paid rapper of all time. I need more rapping skills. Like, he wanted more. He like, but I'm the best. He like, but yes, but are you the same animal in a different beast? And he was like, what are you talking about, Kobe Bryant? He like, you welcome. Because at that point, he wanted to be known. You can't just be happy with being the best. You got to have a mentality. So when our team did up downs, guess who did it with them? Dan Campbell. Mm-hmm. When they ran suicides, guess who ran it with them? Dan Campbell. Mm-hmm. When they in the weight room, guess who in there lifting with them? Dan Campbell.
Meathead Dan. He loved to lift.
Right? When you sitting there talking about accountability, guess who the first to put his hand up? This is my fault. Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm. I remember the first season when things were going left and you guys were giving away games that you guys should have won. He was always accepting responsibility to the point, the dude was breaking down at the podium, and it's like, eventually you got to a point, it's like this is a grown man, break it down. You getting paid millions of dollars to coach football. Like, it's like, why am I feeling sorry for you? But it's like,
but it wasn't about the money though. And see, that's the thing that people don't realize. He would do it for free. It wasn't about the money. It was about he understood that he wanted that win. And he felt that he did a lot of things right, but it was a few things that he did wrong that made him a better person for the next game. And again, nobody in the league was doing it like going on fourth down until Detroit started going like that. Everybody else was like, oh, we a punt. Detroit was like, you punt if you want to. You give me the ball back. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking all 4 downs. I'm going for it.
We going for it like we playing Madden. 4th and 5 and up, we going for it.
4th and 5, that's right. I'm going for it.
I don't care what
and that's the thing. When you got a guy who got that mentality that tells his players, I'm not going for this because I ain't got no kicker. That's not what the problem is. He going for it because he's telling his players, I trust that you can do it. I know that you're going to do it, and I expect you to execute it. Get it done. And when they don't, he go, all right, that's my fault. Can I put you in a better situation? He always takes the ownership of it. So when you see him succeeding where the other people failed at, you got Jim Schwartz who had success. Like you said, he put the defense, but he didn't know how to hire the right people to get the offense fired up, right? You look at Jim Caldwell, he only beat losing teams. And everybody he hired were friends. And he kept playing a very predictable, simplified, I ain't even gonna say simplified, I'm gonna just say he played what he thought was complex, but everybody saw what was coming a mile away. I just sit up there with my friends, and we used to play games. Now, I don't drink, but they do. And we used to play drinking games. So if I got my predictions right, when calling the play, like run left, run right, run up the middle, this is a pass short to the right. And so if I got that right, they drink and I get $1. And by the time the game was over, I came into the game with $1. I walked out with about 75 because I can call the plays out that good. So where you look at Dan Campbell, you don't know what we gonna do. We did a double flea flicker one time. We have the reverse on top of reverse. Like you don't know what we gonna do. But what you do know is when you came to this building, or we came to your house, we gonna give you everything we got. And now there were some games where we didn't give everything we got, for whatever the reason may be. But you know one thing the Lions didn't do? Lose back-to-back games.
Sure. I remember after y'all beat the Rams in the wild card round, the locker room, everybody will huddle up. Dan Campbell comes up, says, "You're good enough for Detroit, Jared." After he was cast to the side, you remember he gets traded for Matthew Stafford. Lions fans were saying Matthew Stafford held the franchise back. First year, takes the LA Rams, wins the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Jared Goff, his first season wasn't bad. I thought it was pretty decent, but it wasn't as good as what you expect when you just see your former QB end up winning the Super Bowl. But then, you know, the second half of year 2 in Detroit, the dude goes scorched earth, and ever since then, he's played at a top 10 level pretty much, in my opinion. And just the fact that Dan Campbell looked at Jared Goff and viewed him as an asset more as just somebody who was just a bridge stopgap quarterback until Detroit's able to find somebody better. Dan Campbell is like, no, like, they don't want you, but we do. You want to know why? Because you're good enough to start for us. They didn't just trade for Jared Goff just to get the pick. You feel me? They traded for him because they felt this dude could actually play. And it looked like a pretty good trade. And it looks like a win-win for both situations. You got a quarterback that can help you continue to win big games. And the LA Rams got a Super Bowl out of Matthew Stafford.
You know what I did one day? I was curious, right? I wanted to see what was going to happen. And you should do the same thing. I want you to go back. I want you to look at all the winning quarterbacks in the Super Bowl and all the losing quarterbacks from the Super Bowl. And you know what I found out? That there was only a few Hall of Fame quarterbacks who won the Super Bowl, but a whole lot of average game managing quarterbacks who won the Super Bowl. From the 2000 Ravens with Trent Dilfer, went to Eli Manning on the Giants, but he a Hall of Famer now because what he did, he shouldn't have been able to do. Kurt Warner, what he did, he shouldn't have been able to do. He managed the game, and he got a few franchises to the Super Bowl that had never been. You go all the way down to 2004 Buccaneers, Brad Johnson. You don't even hear them talk about him no more, right? You look at the quarterback that y'all have had. Like people, like most Steelers fans know who Cordell Stewart is.
Slash
but
Stewart.
but forever, yeah. But everybody remembers the guy who won it, right?
Big Ben.
And Big Ben. But Big Ben was a little bit different than the average quarterback because Big Ben would do absolutely everything to get that ball off and stuff. But when you go through and you look at the quarterbacks and you see it, you realize you don't need the best quarterback to win the Super Bowl. You don't. You need a comparable quarterback to win the Super Bowl, including the Eagles' first Super Bowl. You know who the quarterback was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
Nick Foles.
What is he doing right now? I'll wait.
Hey, that boy, where me and you at right now? At home.
Right? Right? So Jared Goff just needed to be a game manager. And what they did was they said, we're going to take away all your excuses not to fail. And they gave him a lot of things to succeed. It was one of the reasons why I was so critical of Brad Holmes, because I felt that his investments were directly related to building up Jared Goff. And that's cool. But I want more defensive help. And so the Lions have shown a great deal of success, and it has been simply because Dan Campbell understood the mentality of the city. He understood what a winner should look like and should not look like, and he was willing to do the one thing that his mentor taught him: go outside the box. And it ain't just him. Look at Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes go outside. He don't even draft. Everybody named Mama. I every year I do a draft versus draft battle show where I let subscribers come on and we do a draft simulator and let the fans pick who won the draft. And that 1 year I just kept taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Last year, I mean not Jahmyr. I kept taking a running back. I kept taking B. John Robinson, and everybody was like, why are you taking a running back? I said, well, y'all don't want Jalen Carter because of all the off-field stuff, so I'm going to go with a running back. That gives me the most impact immediately. And I lost every draft battle against a subscriber because I picked a running back. And then the Lions general manager said, after your positional value, I'm a positional villain. He took the damn running back, right? Yeah. And everybody went crazy. You took a running back 12. That's terrible value.
But they understand then he goes off. He ain't no traditional running back though. He's a weapon.
But it's not even a matter if he's a weapon or not. It's a matter of what everybody thought that you took a guy that has no value. Now when he succeeds, nobody talks about he was what a bad pick. And so that's why you see now where there's a guy who went off schedule. Dan Campbell go off schedule. Brad Holmes go off schedule. Ben Johnson go off schedule. Everybody thought Ben Johnson would have been a head coach by now. He keep telling people, "Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna finish what I started here."
I ain't ready yet.
You see what I'm saying?
Good. Yeah.
So you got guys who are not following the norms. You ever seen ants? Like you ever been outside to see a bunch of ants?
Yeah.
And if they find a piece of food, you see a line of ants following the food, right? Okay. The Detroit Lions coaching staff, from top to bottom, has been off schedule. When they were not keeping our players healthy, he got rid of the whole room. When they wasn't handling the certain little intricacies of the game plan right, they were let go. And when everybody else was standing in the perfect line like the rest of the little ants, they were over there exploring other areas like, yo, while y'all eat that moon pie over there, I'm going to come over here and see what's over here. It might be some fruit over here. They were willing to go away from the pack and stand on their own. And that's why you see the success in Detroit.